Ooh, okay. This is depressing. If you are unaware, there is a movie named Anora out, written and directed by Sean Baker, and has been getting a slew of Oscar buzz. I'm assuming by the time that I post this, it probably will have nominations, which good, deserved. Definitely over Emilia Perez, but that's another thing. It's one of those films that honestly could have been very insulting, very offensive, and very anti-feminist. I was very curious into seeing how this man was going to depict sex work in this film, because it has been kind of a topic of taboo these days, in the sense that you're either totally like, yes, queen, get your bag, get your dollar bills, we support. For me, the woman in me is that. For me, I'm always on the mindset, as long as you're not hurting anybody, you do what you need to do. Do what you gotta do to make yourself happy. If you're happy, that's great. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. But I feel like this is a very good time for this film to come out, considering how, I don't want to say desensitized we've become to sex work, but I will say detached, I think is fair to say. So for me, watching this film was very interesting in the sense of, what will this say about feminism? What will this say about sex work? Is it going to be demeaning? Is it going to be shameful? And I can happily say no. I can happily say that this film does not shame sex workers, which is great. It does not villainize them. It's very opposite, actually, and Sean Baker has been known for his previous works in humanizing sex workers, actually. But what really stood out to me the most with this film was really one scene, and it was so simple on the surface, but just spoke so loudly, is the ending. The ending, which is very much left up to interpretation for the audience. And so for me, being a woman,
Yes, being a woman.
I very much had some takeaways. And I would like to open the floor, obviously, to all of you who have seen the movie and what your takeaways of the ending were. If you want to know my quick thoughts, I do 100% recommend this movie to everybody. I think it is a very important movie that humanizes sex workers, and I think that is very important because I personally haven't seen any movies really do that, and I haven't been one to really understand when it comes to sex workers, because I don't have anybody that is in relation to me that is in that line of work. So to me, the movie does a brilliant job in humanizing sex workers. It's also just fun. Also just had such a fun time with it. Mikey Madison killed. Ooh, she killed it. We're married. All of the performances were amazing. The way this was filmed, the way this was edited, it just, I loved it. It had such an energy to it, such a pulse to it, you know? I do definitely recommend this movie to those who haven't watched it. That's your warning in case this is going to spoil things for you, because it will. While the film isn't saying anything negative against sex workers, which again I believe is quite the positive, this ending was so fucking powerful and changed my whole perspective on the film. What is crazy with this ending, and what really changes the movie for me with this one scene being the ending, is that throughout the whole film, we see Anora being okay. We see Anora put up a front. She calls people pussy ass bitches and amongst other things, which I won't repeat, but she is a tough ass bitch. And this whole time I was watching this and I'm like, yes, she's a queen. She's owning her shit. And I was there backing up my girl Anora 110%. She can do no wrong. I don't give a shit. She can do no wrong. She can take all of this guy's money for all I care. Yes. Please pull a salt burn, Anora. And even as we're intro to her being a stripper, we never see her crack. There's never any scenes of her staring at a mirror, breaking down. There's never any indication of her being unwell. She seems like she's doing fine. She doesn't seem absolutely happy or anything like that, but she seems like she's doing fine throughout the film as we are introduced to her and her profession. Then intro Vanya / Ivan. There's an opportunity there for her to leave this lifestyle, to leave this line of profession, that she's going to then become married to this very rich man. Maybe they don't have the most in common. Maybe she doesn't know him that well because it's literally within, a week or 2 weeks that they get married of knowing each other. And so it clearly isn't true love or anything like that. But she is up to getting married to him because it's like, well, he's loaded. He's fucking loaded. And he's treating me like a queen. Like I'm fucking Cinderella. So obviously I'm going to take it. But we never understand fully what Anora is thinking. We never get any long dialogues of her explaining, well, I want to be married to him because I grew up in this lifestyle and I've always wanted to be rich and blah, blah, blah. Like, we never get that, which is good because I always believe the best types of movies are the ones that leave things up to interpretation. It leaves clues for the audience to pick up on things. So for me, that was great. But we do see that she seems fine with what she's doing. She seems good. She seems like, all right, I'm making my bills. I'm getting my bag. B, she is holding on to this marriage for dear life. She is fighting. She literally fights out of this terrible situation that she is now put in where Vanya's goons, his family's goons, are there to attack her and take her away so that they can get an annulment. He's like, no, I am not getting separated from him. We're in love. I don't care. We're not doing that. You can beg all you want, but I'm going to talk to him, and he's also going to fight for this because he loves me. So yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. We're married. We're married now. We're married. She's fighting for that, but we don't know why. Is it because she truly loves Ivan? Probably not. Is it because that she sees a way out of her current situation? Probably. She's getting her Cinderella moment where there's this guy swoops in, takes her out of the poor, and gets her from rags to riches. Her pretty woman moment, if you will.
I do also think it's fair to say that she probably did fall for Ivan to some degree.
However, it obviously all comes crashing down. It's never going to work. Ivan's family does not allow this to happen, and Ivan himself is a little pussy bitch. Yes. Little pussy bitch. Where he will not stand up to his family for shit. She is left with nothing but $10,000. That is the most that they're willing to pay her to leave, get out of his life, never contact them again. So now, even after all of that, we never see her cry. We never see her break down. She's still putting up this tough wall, this tough exterior. Even when Vanya says in her face, "Are you stupid? Are you stupid or something?" She still doesn't break down right then and there. She looks hurt and she says so much with her face, which, kudos to Mikey Madison. And then finally with this ending, okay, because you really could think to yourself, all right, all of this happened, it was bullshit, but hey, she's gonna go back to work, she's gonna go back to doing her thing, and I don't think I mentioned it before, so apologies, but she was not only a stripper, but she was also a sex worker. She was having sex with men for money, so there's also that. So she seemed fine. She seemed fine throughout this whole thing with her life and what she was doing. But then we get this ending. We get this scene. Honestly, just broke my heart. We have this man who is one of Vanya's goons, whose name is Igor, and he also understands her life because he is also working for the rich and is just doing what he's doing in order to survive. So he relates to her in that way. He is shown throughout the film being very sympathetic towards her situation because of the fact how he understands. So in a last gesture of kindness, he then gives her her wedding ring back because it was taken from her. And I think it's fair to assume it's worth quite a bit. He gives her the ring while he's dropping her off back to her house. And she looks directly at the camera and she gives this look like, okay, I'm about to do you a service. You just did me a service. I'm going to do you one. Because that's all she knows. All she knows is transactional love. All she knows is transactional service. She doesn't even know true, genuine kindness from all of the interactions that we've seen her be in. Everything that we have seen throughout the film, she knows to show her gratitude is through her body, showing her gratification to Igor. She then tries to have sex with him. It is not until he tries to kiss her, she restrains him, that she gets uncomfortable. She refuses to let him kiss her because that is intimacy, and that is something that, unfortunately, she does not really know, which then leads her to breaking down, finally letting out all of the emotion that she has been holding in this entire time. Whew. And that is one of the most powerful ways you could have ended this film, because this whole time I, watching, was led to believe that she was going to be okay, that she is just fine with what she is doing. When we do see how desperate she starts getting to holding on to the marriage, in my head, I did think to myself, okay, this is probably because she wants her Cinderella moment, that she probably doesn't actually like what she's doing that much, and she probably does want to leave that all behind and just be treated by one man. Probably, I can assume. To then have it all taken away and her breakdown just showed to me how unfortunate it is for sex workers out there. And again, I'm not saying that every single one of them feel this way, because I'm sure there are plenty out there that they choose to do what they do and they're happy with what they're doing, which is great. Do what makes you happy. I preach that. But it really did make me rethink how we have, as a society, have glamorized sex work in previous years, because especially in this era with OnlyFans, and before you get at me, I did Google what OnlyFans is considered for this video, and I will also leave this up to your interpretation as well. Leave it in the comments to let me know, because I am not the deciding factor of this, but I did Google if OnlyFans is considered sex work, and a lot of Google answers said yes. I also surveyed my girlfriends and asked at least 10 of them what they considered it as, and they all told me sex work. So I'm like, okay. And again, it's not to demonize it. It's not to demonize it, but humanize it. There are different levels to this, right? There's demonizing something, humanizing something, and then glamorizing something. So for me, for the past few years, I have felt like sex work has been more so glamorized in media. When I'm looking at comments, again, like I have been one of those comments of being like, let her do her thing. Let her do her thing. Like, if she's not bothering you, let her do her thing. She's making her bag and she's happy. Let her do her thing. I have been so preaching that as well. However, me, as someone who doesn't have any relation to sex work, I feel like this movie, and especially with this one scene, with this ending, really highlights how it might not be all that it's cracked up to be, that maybe it's not as amazing as a lot of us preach it to be. Because, I have seen quite a few figures for OnlyFans, at least, and they be making the bank. Shit, girl, you're making the bank, girl. It feels like in recent years we have been glamorizing it more so than just humanizing it, that these are still real people and that might not be as fabulous as we paint it out to be.
I do also want to make a quick note here that while I have been using OnlyFans as the prime example, all of these points do include the other forms of sex work. For example, porn stars, strippers, sex workers, etc. The only reason that I did focus solely on OnlyFans is because that's the main one that I feel has been the most glamorized out of all of these in recent years. But the points that I'm trying to make here does include all forms of sex work, and how this film and with this ending humanizes all people who are in the sex work industry. Also want to make sure to be clear that one experience is not like the other. I would imagine that those who are doing sex work on OnlyFans versus those who are stripping versus those who are full-on sex workers, I would imagine that they would all have different experiences as well, and one is not the exact same as the other. And then the other point because I had a couple more friends talk to me about this because I really did want to get this right for this video. OnlyFans also is not just for sex work. There are accounts on there that provide other forms of content, like cooking apparently. But they did let me know that yes, OnlyFans does have sex work, but is not only for sex work. All this to say that all the points that I'm making right here with the ending, for me, has to deal with how it de-glamorizes sex work as a whole, since in this particular film Annie is a sex worker and stripper, but really opened my eyes personally towards all of those who are in that line of profession of sex work, of hey, you know, they are just people.
But again, very distinct difference between humanizing it and demonizing it. And I think that is also one of the reasons why this ending is so powerful, is because it's one scene of her breaking down, and that I think is the strongest choice with humanizing sex work instead of demonizing it, because if she would have been shown crying throughout the entire film, I think it still would have humanized her, but that then I personally feel would have painted it more as like, oh, like look at how tragic, like look at how terrible she's living her life being a sex worker. Look how horrible her life is. If Sean Baker would have chosen her to continuously break down, to have pills, like, you know what I mean? Her be sexually assaulted, because unfortunately that also does happen to sex workers, which is just, If Sean really wanted to demonize it, I feel like he could have added in elements like that to this film to really try and hone in the message. Oh, look how bad it is. Look how terrible of a life she's living, which is also not to say that that kind of stuff doesn't happen. It does happen, but there are also the people who are happy with what they're doing or content with what they're doing, and that's completely fine too. With this choice in putting this one scene in there, making this your ending statement, really hones in the message to me that they're just humans. They're just humans. This is not necessarily a glamorous lifestyle. Maybe we have, as a society, glamorized it a lot, but we have to remember that they are real people. While there's some people who are thriving in it, there are other people who aren't thriving and are just doing this as a means to get by, as a necessity, and that if they had the choice and different upbringing, different circumstances, they probably would be doing something else. All of that to say, goodness gracious. Definitely do not demonize them as humans either, because also throughout the film, there are people who just, you know, call her rude names. Like, they just call her the prostitute, the hooker, all of these demeaning names to her. Which, again, is something I'm sure they go through, but it's to showcase that, hey, they are real people, so be mindful. Be mindful of them. You don't know their situation. You don't know what they've been through, so maybe just shut up. I feel like the movie showcases Anora enough for us to get that insight, but then not too much for us to, oh, poor her, throughout the whole film. It was this perfect blend of getting to know her, but without getting to know her too much, and for us to be able to paint the picture ourselves, which is also fantastic. And I'm really impressed. Very impressed with this film. Let me know all of your thoughts, because I know there are different interpretations of the ending, obviously. This is just my take on it and perspective. My dad also watched it. If you guys care, his perspective as a 53? Is he 53? Oh my god. How do I forget my parents' age? As a 53-year-old man, he said that to him the ending was a showcase of her being sad that she has to go back to the lifestyle that she knows as well. That was also, yeah, my 53-year-old dad's day. I've also seen comments arguing that she broke down because she realized Igor is just like all men, and that given the opportunity to sleep with her, he took it. And so she broke down because she realized that even a guy as seemingly genuine as Igor is also just like all men. That could be a take as well. I could see that as well, but I don't know. To me, because he seemed genuine throughout the whole thing, and he did numerous actions of kindness towards her, and then him wanting to kiss her for more intimacy. I took it as he wanted to kiss her as intimacy, not to have her putting in all the work and having it feel transactional on her end. He could provide something for her as well in that moment. It didn't feel like it was coming from a malicious place on his end. But again, that was just my take because of how sympathetic he was towards her throughout the whole thing. Also, how she broke down because of just being a plaything for the rich. Everything that just transpired was just heartbreaking for her. And that's all that was. It was just a heartbreaking situation for her, and that she was used yet again by another person, but specifically, yeah, the rich, and that the rich keep taking advantage of her. I think that also does stand true as well as an argument towards the ending. There's just so many ways to interpret it, but that was the most I got out of it. I would love to hear your thoughts. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Cannot emphasize enough how this is humanizing and not demonizing, but also not glamorizing. Like, it was just such a perfect, just, yes, like, this is the reality. And I respect it, and I really appreciated that. But definitely let me know all of your thoughts on the movie, on your interpretation on the ending. Just, again, just that one scene just really took it home for me personally. It just really landed and was just brilliant. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.